Hello and Mingalaba, welcome to MI Radio's Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zin. Pyidaungsu Hluttaw agreed to get a loan for Yangon City Water Resilience Project. Considering the nationalization of Yadanabon Zoological Garden as a public area. Current circumstances of confectionery and snacks market. And a story coverage on the highway bus terminal taking precautionary measures as express buses resume operations. Stay with me on Myanmar Today for the reports, but let's take a look at the local news now. The fifth meeting of the 47-member leading committee of the 8th State Sangha Mahanayaka Committee kicked off at the Mahapathana Cave in Tirimingala Hill in Yangon on Sunday. Union Minister for Religious Affairs and Culture, Pyidaungsu, and officials of the ministry were present at the meeting. Bamosiaro Dr. Badana Kumara Bivamsa presided over the meeting. In his opening address, Bamosiaro stressed the importance of judging the religious issues without biasness to ensure the decisions made by the committee would be accepted by over 500,000 members of the Sangha in Myanmar. Union Minister Pyidaungsu called on the members of the Sangha for timely preventing ideology, teachings, and distribution of books which are in contradiction to the teachings of the Buddha and posing a danger to Theravada Buddhism. Besides, the Union Minister also urged the country's highest Buddhist regulatory committee to give advice to the Buddhist devotees on making Buddha statues in conformity with the guidelines of the Theravada Buddhism to ensure that the statues are graceful for the Buddhist devotees. Union Minister for the Ministry of Labour, Immigration and Population, Pyidaungsu, held a coordination meeting in Naypyidaw Sunday. The Union Minister urged the officials concerned to speed up the works to ensure every citizen gets the national registration card which is required for voting in the 2020 general election. He also said it is important for eligible citizens to gain voting rights and not to lose voting rights. The ministry is now focusing on issuing the citizenship scrutiny cards to both eligible voters at home and abroad. They are also cooperating with foreign embassies so that Myanmar citizens abroad can vote in the November 8th elections. He also called for discussions on issuing cards that can be used in the upcoming election at the meeting. Naypyidaw Council member Ue Maungsain and officials from Irrigation and Water Utilization Management Department inspected the strength of Pyidaungsu Dam, Chaumange Dam, and Pyidaungsu Dam in Naypyidaw Council area on Saturday. Director of Construction No. 5, Ukokonai, reported on the conditions of the dam's storage of water in the dam and distribution of water for monsoon paddy cultivation to the officials during the inspection. The department is monitoring dams for safety and for irrigating for both monsoon paddy and summer paddy cultivations. Chin Sui Hall's COVID-19 Containment Working Committee handed over a total of 22 Myanmar nationals who returned from China to their native towns Sunday. The returnees included 11 men and 11 women. 3 are from Kambaloo Township and 1 from Daze in Sagaing Region, 2 from Monyo in Bago Region, 3 from Yezajo in Magwe Region, and 13 from the townships in Shan State. The Chin Sui Hall's COVID committee handed over a total of 13,717 returnees, 7,594 men and 6,123 women to the townships concerned since 30th of April. Petrified wood collectors said Magwe region primarily produces raw materials of petrified wood and nature lovers are keen on petrified wood park in the region. Deputy Director Myen Se of Regional Directorate of Hotels and Tourism said if the petrified wood park exists in the region, it will become a new tourist destination. It will create job opportunities for residents, have a fair market for exports, and raise the value of the natural resource. The petrified wood is found in 16 out of 25 townships of Magwe region. Chair of the Mandalay Region Petrified Wood Entrepreneurs Association, Uti Hanton, stated Myanmar allowed the export of petrified wood in 2012, and China is the only market for it. Higher supply, lack of price regulations, and the conditions in the Chinese market have led to market deterioration after 2014. Some traders are exporting them through the illegal trade channel. That's all with the local news, and we'll dive right into our first report now. Pyidaungsu Hluttaw approved the proposal to get a $180 million loan from Asia Development Bank for Yangon City Water Resilience Project, with the aim of fulfilling the water requirement of Yangon's population and to reduce the water waste. The project is to install the pipelines to transfer water instead of open channels. Thought Aswizin would tell us more.
In a day, 205 million gallons of water are being supplied to 33 townships, home to over 5 million population in the municipal area of Yangon City Development Committee. The population of Yangon, according to 2014 census, was 5.16 million, and this number is increasing year after year, which leads to higher demand in water supply. Moreover, because of more businesses coming into Yangon, the demand in water supply increases 2.09% annually. The main water distributors of Yangon are Jopyu Reservoir, Puji Reservoir, Hluttaw Reservoir, Ngamoye Reservoir, and 495 tube wells of YCDC. 90% of water distribution is from surface water and 10% is injected from underground. Starting from 2025, it will start injection of underground water. To fulfill the water requirement of Yangon, the project of Yangon City Water Resilience is being implemented, and it is proposed to get loan of $180 million from Asia Development Bank (ADB). Concerning this issue, Pyidaungsu Hluttaw approved it on its fifth day of 17th regular session after the clarification of the Ministry of Planning, Finance and Industry. Uma Mawin, Deputy Minister for Planning, Finance and Industry, gave further explanation on the suggestions of Hluttaw representatives.
Resettlement plan The resettlement plan of the project is already developed in line with the environmental regulations of Myanmar, as well as safety regulations of ADB, in order to reduce and replace the impacts on society and environment. The project will be done in state-owned land. After the project is done, 180 million gallons of water from Ngamoye Reservoir will be used in a day. Its capacity of storage is 49,000 million gallons of water. For the feeds of water consumption, we are applying water meter system. It costs 88 chats per unit for households and 110 chats per unit for commercial. If Yangon City can raise water fee to 220 chats per unit for households and 330 chats per unit for commercial, the income will increase to 40 billion chats. The loan can be paid back with the increasing income.
Under water supply progress, there are three parts: water resources, water transmission, and finally distribution. This project is for the initial progress of water resources, which transfer original water from reservoir to the water treatment plant. It is to upgrade the currently used open channels to pipelines when transferring water. At present, the project is bringing 135 million gallons of water from the Ngamoye Reservoir to the Yadanabon water treatment plant, thereby distributing 90 million gallons of purified water to Yangon residents and 45 million gallons of original water to Hluttaw Reservoir in a day through pipelines. The project is to be implemented during 5 years from December 2020 to December of 2025. Agreements have been made with the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Irrigation for water supply, with the Ministry of Construction for installation of water pipelines, and with the Ministry of Electricity and Energy for electrification in the project area. News reported by Dora Susan from Myanmar International Radio.
That's a report on the Pyidaungsu Hluttaw agreeing to get a loan for the Yangon City Water Resilience Project. We'll move on to the next report. The 19th regular session of Second Monthly Region Hluttaw kicked off on the 23rd of July. Hluttaw Representative Dr. Aung Jo-u from Aung Township Constituency 2 raised a question considering nationalization of Yadanabon Zoological Garden as a public area. For more on the story, we turn to our reporter, Pyidaungsu Hluttaw.
The 19th regular session of 2nd Mandalay Region Hluttaw kicked off on 23rd July 2020, and it was the first day meeting of 2nd Mandalay Region Hluttaw for the 19th regular section. During the meeting, the respective regional Hluttaw representatives asked the asterisk mark questions, including public interest projects, the difficulties of the public, recovering the unexplored historic places. During the section of asking and answering the asterisk mark questions, Lieutenant Colonel Jamie, the Tamil representative, started and raised a question that there are swarms of locusts capable of destroying plants and crops in Mandalay region and implementing the conditions on the precautionary measures for that. Hluttaw Representative Dr. Aung from Almitazan Township, Constituency 2 raised a question considering nationalization of Yadanabon Zoological Garden as a public area.
Mandalay, also known as the Smart City, has one particular thing to explore in accordance with the regulations of Smart City. It is exploring the public square, but actually there is no need to explore, but only rediscover the historic place which has already been existed. Along with the generation of the generation, Mandalay citizens can boast about Mandalay Yapi Field, where Mandalay City 100 years celebration was held. Now, Yadanabon Zoological Garden is being built on the site of Mandalay Yapi Field, and so it is requested to be re-established as a public place or public square.
Umyote, Mandalay Regional Minister for Forestry, Natural Resources and Environmental Conservation, replying that the regional government should arrange the substituted land site and relevant budget for replacing Yadanabon Zoological Garden to be considered and nationalization as a public square.
Two Foundation was allowed to hire the zoo by the Ministry of Forestry, Natural Resources and Environmental Conservation with the purpose of carrying out the tasks for conserving and managing it. The land site was not wholly hired with the current market price. The zoo was not built with a budget from Two Foundation. If the Yadanabon Zoological Garden has to move from Mandalay Yapi Field site, the regional government should allocate it to the relevant place. Moreover, the relevant amount of budget should be funded by the regional government, as the zoo has to be reallocated as Mandalay Yapi Field site is supposed to be used as public square.
It was the first day meeting of the 19th regular session for Mandalay Regional Hluttaw, and only one more meeting will be held before the upcoming 2020 general election. Regarding the performance of 2nd Mandalay Regional Hluttaw Representative Dr. Aung from Almitazan Township, Constituency 2 said,
We are not much satisfied with what Hluttaw representative who can perform during a term of Hluttaw. There are much more things that we can perform, but some cases are just under limitation. When things have to be flexible with all stakeholders, there must be something need to be done. So I'm saying that we are not much satisfied with ourselves.
Dr. Myanmar Today representative from Nyita Township, Constituency 2 said,
During this term of Hluttaw, we could initiate the community forest in Mandalay region, and we could convince the public to participate in the CF farm. We urge the government through Hluttaw to implement the community forestry in an effective manner. We are really satisfied with the performance.
The 19th regular session of Mandalay Regional Hluttaw is going to be held until 10 August.
That's a report on considering the nationalization of Yadanabon Zoological Garden as a public area. More reports coming up later. Stay with us. Even though the snacks and confectionery market and businesses are not the most hammered sector by the impact of COVID-19, there are still vivid changes in how the things process at the current situation. Our reporter David Tanner explored the consequences of these factors around the market of confectionery and snacks.
As the food and beverage sector continues to combat new daily challenges during the global COVID-19 pandemic, local retailers and snack wholesalers have also been facing its difficulties in their own ways. Even though the snacks market and businesses are not the most hammered sector by the impact of COVID-19, let's hear out what Mat Teng Teng Yi, sales in charge of Myen Teng Snacks and Confectionery Wholesales, has to say.
At the present time, we are in normal pace in terms of sales. We have sold more around the COVID-19 period and it went even better around the month of April and May. The sale does not go down in a tremendous rate at the current time. Businesses was great around last year's school opening season, and I'm still hoping this scenario to apply again this year when the schools completely reopen around August.
Mat Teng Teng Yi added on that even around the COVID-19 circumstances, there were no changes in the prices of the snacks. The sales drastically slowed down if the prices increase. Potato chips, sunflower seeds, milk bread, biscuits, and cookies are the staple around snacks business around the COVID-19 period. Mat Teng Teng Yi also told MI Radio about where the snacks have been imported from.
We import most of the snacks from Yangon in amount that we are comfortable to sell. But some of the products also came from Mandalay. They sent us by trains and buses. We are estimating that the business will even thrive further after COVID-19 is fully controlled and the school completely reopens. We are hoping for the best case scenarios after all these unfortunate events are fully worked out.
I have also asked one of the raw ingredients buyer for his perspective regarding the consumption and its changes at the current period of snacks and other products. Let's find out.
The sale has been gradually slowing down in this time of COVID-19. And in perspective, every kind of business is impacted in the same way. Frankly, everyone is struggling in this situation. Fortunately, raw ingredients have not been increased in price, but on the other hand, it is because of the slow and low in demand, which is unfortunate. The prices are stable normal overall. I really wish this unfortunate event will end sometime soon, and if it is going to be, the business will thrive again.
The snacks and confectionery industry, as it is not immune to the pressures brought by the COVID-19 pandemic, consumer snacks buying behavior is reflecting heightened price sensitivity on one hand, and on the other hand, desiring moments of comfort and escapism. This is something convenience store retailers and confectionery snacks wholesalers need to be understand to respond to it, be it by offering experimental flavors that encourage affordable moments of indulgence or offering traditional flavors and snacks that remind people of similar times, which also have to be affordable, of course. Mimi Luen, owner of Dine Say Snacks and Confectionery Wholesales, tell us more about the current situations of the snacks and confectionery wholesales market.
We are in the recovery state right now in terms of sales and market. We have been selling in a regular rate which has not been increased or decreased. Rural areas order us through phone contacts and transfer the money through banking processes and online payments. I think that the market will increase in rapid rate after the schools reopen. The prices of the snacks even go down a while ago as the impact of COVID-19 has been affecting. The companies of Sunshine branded snacks pump up the percentage that they give in a small amount, which is great for us and the overall buyers.
Reporter David Tanner reporting from Myanmar International Radio.
Well, we have one last report on the highway bus terminal taking precautionary measures. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. COVID-19 continues to have a profound impact on varieties of businesses and sectors in different ways, in this case, including the highway and express buses travel industry. David Tanner will tell us more about how the highway and express buses travel industry are changing drastically after the COVID-19's impact, as he explores and interviewed the respective persons of the Mingala Highway Bus Terminal and Shui Baogan Bus Terminal in Mandalay.
Express buses have resumed operation by following strict restrictions and instructions on the guidelines laid down by the Ministry of Health and Sports since May, while paying great attention to the potential risk of COVID-19. With that being said, Chairman of the Mandalay Highway Bus Terminal Disciplinary Committee, Pyidaungsu Hluttaw, MI Radio more about the current conditions of the terminal's processes.
In the case of health guidelines, it is mandatory that we have to provide hand gels, masks, and digital thermometer on every bus. As we follow the instructions of the Ministry of Health and Sports, we also make sure to now make the inner part of the buses not to be crowded. For instance, we only let 5 passengers aboard the bus if the bus accommodates 10 passengers. Basically, we follow the social distancing rules by making enough spaces between each passenger. It is also mandatory to provide hand washing basins in each of the respective gates in our Thiri Mandala Highway Bus Terminal. And we don't allow passengers and drivers who don't wear masks to come into the terminal. Therefore, we have health instruction sections in each of our gates almost every day.
The Ministry of Health and Sports has been instructing each of the highway bus terminals to ensure the safety and well-being of the respective workers in each terminal in order to prevent them being affected from COVID-19. Pyidaungsu will add on more about how the Mandalay Highway Bus Terminal is dealing with the strict instructions with no compromises.
In the circumstances of COVID-19, we strictly preview and check up each of the buses before leaving the terminal. We only allow the bus which meets all the conditions of those health guidelines. If not, we might consider the bus to be prepared again before the next checkup. These are of the most important activities that we do here in this terminal in terms of precautionary measure for COVID-19. As we know, this disease is controllable if it doesn't spread further and make effective preventions. Significant actions that we could take first and foremost will be to wear masks and always wash our hands. The thing is that even if we were to make all these considerations, such as social distancing, etc., we still need to inform our passengers to really follow those simple rules.
Uchiko, in charge of Shui Baogan Bus Terminal, also told MI Radio regarding the passengers and drivers following the specific rules and regulations or not. Let's find out.
We always provide the standard need for each driver, but some drivers tend to overload passengers as they drive through on the way. We notice there is a bit lack of examination on these conditions when compared to the first wave of COVID-19 that was serious, which is a bad sign. Even though we try to inform all these guidelines every day, it is just a matter of time when some drivers and passengers neglect the rules and health guidelines, which is very dangerous for the possible second wave of COVID-19. Our biggest concern will be the drivers tend to let passengers on the bus even over the standard limitation.
Reporter David Tanner reporting from Myanmar International Radio.
That's all we have for today's reports, and here's international news on Myanmar Today. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea reported its first suspected case of COVID-19 in Kaesong City, a person who illegally returned to the country from the Republic of Korea on July 19th, state media Korean Central News Agency reported on Sunday. KCNA did not specifically mention whether the individual had been tested, saying that the unnamed person, quote, was put under strict quarantine as a primary step, and all the persons who contacted that person and those who have been to the city in the last 5 days are being thoroughly investigated and quarantined. An emergency meeting was later convened by DPRK leader Kim Jong-un to discuss the situation and unanimously adopted the maximum emergency system decision. Dozens were arrested and many police injured in clashes around Seattle's biggest Black Lives Matter protest in weeks on Saturday, police said, with a renewed energy sparked by violent clashes between activists and federal agents in nearby Portland, Oregon. Police said officers used non-lethal weapons in attempts to disperse the thousands of marchers in the late afternoon after some protests set fire to the construction site for a King County juvenile detention facility and courthouse. By 10 p.m., police had made 45 arrests in connection with the riot in the East Precinct, the Seattle police wrote in a Twitter post. It said 21 officers sustained injuries after being struck by bricks, rocks, mortars, or other explosives. Most officers were able to return to duty. One was treated at a hospital for a knee injury. In the U.S. city of Portland, Oregon, nightly protests continue now for more than 2 months. The Trump administration has sent in federal law enforcement to try and calm the situation. Will the protests slow down? We have a video. Let's take a look.
Outside the federal courthouse, protesters gather in the early evening as the event kicks off with a party-like atmosphere.
A number of people tell me that protest numbers were down to about 50 people before federal law officers came to this site. Now, look at the crowd here. There are literally thousands of people attending.
I asked these nurses whether they felt it was safe to protest during a pandemic.
There are more people here being respectful and appropriately and adequately masked up than just about anywhere else I've been around here. I didn't come here looking for a fight. I didn't come here looking for tear gas. I came here to support people.
Elementary school teachers have also joined the cause, hoping to bring the focus back to racial injustice and also send federal law enforcement packing.
I'm thinking about my students as a teacher. I'm also thinking about my daughter. And then I'm also just thinking about the city of Portland. And the feds are here. We don't want them here. I was out here a couple of weeks ago, and the protests are peaceful until the police and the feds show up.
I definitely started getting emotional and starting kind of feeling fearful, but I think this is really important.
One of the main causes for fear, tear gas canisters, which federal officers began throwing shortly before the midnight hour to clear the crowd.
And you can see right down here, the tear gas is coming out a lot stronger and more intense, but protesters continue to advance. Not worried about it. It's sort of a game of chicken in a way. Well, they'll move back, advance again, move back. This goes on for quite some time.
Many of the protesters are well equipped with masks and respirators. Some even use leaf blowers to disperse the gas. Some make risky moves, daring to pick up canisters and throw them back. 114 federal law officers have been sent in to guard the courthouse. They face a barrage of commercial-grade fireworks launched at them by unruly elements of the crowd. U.S. officials say numerous federal officers have suffered injuries and that at least 3 have likely been blinded by laser pointers.
This is something that is now made far worse and now made far more chaotic. And downtown looks a lot different dramatically different than it did just a few days ago since the arrival of U.S. Marshals and Border Patrol.
A chaotic situation with no signs of slowing down, but instead all the ingredients for a dangerous showdown night after night.
In other news, Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Sunday that the Russian Navy would be armed with hypersonic nuclear strike weapons and underwater nuclear drones, which the country's defense ministry said were in their final phase of testing. The weapons, some of which have yet to be deployed, include the Poseidon underwater nuclear drone, designed to be carried by submarines, and the Zircon hypersonic cruise missile, which can be deployed on surface ships. The combination of speed, maneuverability, and altitude of hypersonic missiles, capable of traveling at more than 5 times the speed of sound, makes them difficult to track and intercept. And that's all we have for now. Thanks for joining me on Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zinn. Stay safe and stay protected, everyone. I'll see you again. Goodbye.